Hello and welcome to the Rest is Football with Alan Shearer and me, Gary Lineker. And Micah was working on the games today. We're waiting for him to get to his hotel room. He was at the Etihad today to watch Manchester City against Liverpool, covering the Newcastle game against Forest earlier on today. You're right, Alan? You went to the game, so we'll talk about the game in detail later on when Micah's here.
Did you see Micah trying to be nice about Liverpool, where you could see he was gritting his teeth? The Man City ambassador was hurt.
I know, he was. It was a tough day for him. You went to the game, didn't you? Newcastle game?
I went to the Newcastle game, yeah. I was in the...
Bonkers match.
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was end-to-end, a bit nerve-wracking towards the end after getting in such a great position, Newcastle. Some of the football they played in the first half, after going 1-0 down, was magnificent. It really was. Two-touch football, and Forest couldn't live with Newcastle at times, but goodness me, they came back into it in the second half. Talk about a game of two halves, and that was it. And they perhaps could have, maybe should have gone away with a draw.
You looked immaculate, Micah, which is, I can't say the same for your team. Although they weren't actually, in the second half, I thought they played pretty well. Bit blunt up top, but yeah. But before we do anything we talk about the game itself. It's hard to envisage now, isn't it, that the title is not done?
Yeah, I think it is done. I think me and Al called it a while back. Now we was on the front foot with it. I think why I said it was done early doors is because Liverpool don't have to play brilliantly well to win the game. Special moments in the game. When you've got Van Dijk at the back, Gravenberch in midfield, Alisson and Salah as your spine, you're always going to create moments in the game. And today I thought City was all right. I thought City played well. They had more possession. They had shots. But they missed that presence of Haaland up top today. I think Doku got in some really good positions. So did Savinho. But at the vital moment, they just couldn't get it over the line. And that's because Liverpool defend so well. So, yeah, I think it's done and dusted now.
They didn't have a threat, did they, Man City? They looked, some of their football and possession, but they just lacked that threat that you need. And obviously Haaland was injured, and we do hope he's okay. But I agree with you. It's frustrating at times Doku went and got to the byline, went past Trent so many times, but at times a final ball, that final pass was lacking as well, wasn't it?
I think what was good for City though, because I did against Madrid midweek in the Champions League, and it looked like two different levels. I think today they showed that they still can keep the ball. They, of course, need a little bit more cutting edge up front. They had a lot of injuries. Diaz had to come on the game. They started Rikuzinov, a 20-year-old. Ake's been in and out of the team. You've got Guardiola, who's really a centre-back playing left-back. And you've got Rico Lewis, who's asked to do something that, at this moment in time, is finding it difficult. And what I mean by that, when they go into the shape, they go, actually, if you look at Man City's shape, they go, there's two at the back. They put the full-backs really narrow, make a three in midfield, and then five up front. So on that transition, at times I think he's finding it difficult. So there was positive signs for Man City today, but I just think overall, Liverpool always looked like they was going to be the team to score, whether it be 1-2 or maybe even 3.
And the fact they got 2-0 up at half-time, he then showed that he can play a slightly different way, didn't he? Patience, just, they didn't really threaten in the second half, but they didn't need to. But they were really, I think, tactically astute. They got themselves in positions, made it difficult for Manchester City to create those chances. So it shows he can also, change things during a match to suit the circumstances.
I thought Liverpool were absolutely outstanding. I thought they went and did a job on City today. I thought they were, without doubt, prepared to let City have the majority of possession, and that never bothered them. In fact, it probably suited them. But I thought there were so many impressive performances from Liverpool players today. They were outstanding.
Don't you think it was really good tactically? Normally, they would go with maybe a Diaz on the left and a Jota up front. They went with Curtis Jones, didn't they? Sort of patrolling that left-hand side for, okay, on the transition, we're going to go with another one in midfield. And it just worked. It just worked for them. I agree with Alan. Although we expect Liverpool from previous seasons to be gung-ho, really going at teams, but they don't need to. And this is what we talk about with Amorim at Man United, we're not talking about you having to change your tactics completely. It's just adapt to the game that you're playing in, and that's what Slot is so good at doing. He can win in all different type of ways.
I think tactically he's very clever. I think it was just a thoroughly professional performance. They managed to get the lead, the brilliance of Salah once again, and then just looked so comfortable, really, in control. The real control of that game, I felt, even though City had most of the possession and a few kind of efforts in the second half, but they never really looked like scoring, did they?
I thought even the set piece that Liverpool scored from, the little flick and I know it took a deflection with Salah, but I just thought everything about their game, I agree with you guys. I thought they were just in control of that game at all times, and I'd never thought they were flustered. I never thought once they got that first goal, other than Liverpool were going to take all the points, and it was very impressive. Yeah, and it's pretty much done. It's pretty much their title.
What a season Mo Salah's having, isn't he? I mean, he's been consistent season after season anyway, but this particular season I've got a lot of statistics here. Let me read them out. He's the first player in Premier League history to register 40-plus goal involvements in 2 different seasons. He's the first player in Europe's top 5 leagues to be directly involved in 50 goals across all competitions in 24-25. Mo Salah has now scored and assisted in 11 Premier League games this season, the most by a player in a single season in one of Europe's big 5 leagues since Lionel Messi for Barcelona in 2014-15, who also had 11. He's provided more assists in 24-25 than any other Liverpool player has in a single Premier League campaign. That's 16. And he's the first player in Premier League history to score and assist in both games against the reigning champions in a season. I've got one more I want to read out that has just been sent on the group chat, and it's been sent by Alan Shearer. Most goals and assists in a single Premier League season. In 94-95, Alan Shearer, 47. Andy Cole is also on 47 in 93-94. Then it's Thierry Henry and Erling Haaland on 44. Suarez and Mo Salah from 2017-18. And then Mo Salah this season, he's on 41. So he needs 7 more in the remaining games this season to go past a certain Alan Shearer. And obviously you played way more games, Alan.
He'll smash that as well. I mean, yeah, it's like, how many times have we said it?
Do you carry all these records around with you? Is that?
No, honestly, my mate sent it through to me with that emoji with the arm in the end. I thought, I'll just send that on to you, dickhead. So
he must have been quite good at football. I realised that. But he's having an extraordinary season. I mean, he looks so confident. He looks happy.
Brilliant. Yeah, we've said it before, haven't we, about his contract situation. It looks as if he's getting better, which is just remarkable. Yeah, he's having a great season. He's a fantastic player, and he'll probably go on and smash all sorts of records, which he's doing.
Mike, you've had 1 or 2 technical issues there. You have now switched to your iPad.
I'm on my phone now. I'm using my iPad for voice memos. Yes, it's been a bad weekend, isn't it? City lose, Arsenal lose. I mean, yeah, it's one of those weekends. But hey, I'm still here with the lads.
You're losing Wi-Fi. I thought you meant to be in nice hotels.
It is a nice hotel, actually. I won't name it. No. I won't name it, just in case.
Possibly the game that means the title race is well, it's hard to conceive Liverpool failing from here. Arsenal dropping all 3 points at home to West Ham. We were together yesterday for Match of the Day, covered that one. Well, it's a big blow to Arsenal. And people were saying, perhaps Arsenal could chase them down. But I think when you consider how light they are now up top, the injuries that they've had, I think that's made it incredibly difficult for them. And you could see that yesterday, Alan.
Yeah, I think West Ham, I thought, were the better team. They deserved to win. Got the tactics absolutely spot on. Moreno came on last week and got the 2, so they went up him with again up top. This time he started, but no, there was nothing up front. They were very flat. Didn't create hardly anything, and West Ham nullified them again. They went in with 3 at the back or 5 at the back, and there was no way past them. There was no fluke about it. West Ham were the better team. They just stopped Arsenal playing and hardly created anything. And it was really poor from Arsenal. You were expecting a lot more. I know they've got injuries, and I know it's been said a million times, but it will continue to be said about them, their lack of firepower or a lack of a top-class centre-forward. We said it before ball was kicked. If they didn't get one in, I didn't fancy them to win the league, and it looks as if that's going to be the case. And I don't see them coming back from it now. I don't see them winning every single game, which is what they have to do, and that might not be enough. And no, I think it's pretty much done.
Has it surprised you that Arsenal haven't? Well, on the surface of it, I mean, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? But on the surface of it, it doesn't look like they've prioritised a number 9, at least a goal scorer by the very least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their plans were internally, whether they went for someone specific and they couldn't get him for whatever reason, whether he was out of their price bracket, whether they couldn't get him for contractual reasons, whether they didn't want anyone. I haven't got a clue. But it's been blindingly obvious that that's what they've needed for this season. They chose not to go again in January by bringing a forward in, which again was a bit of a surprise. But I don't know. I don't know whether they felt they had enough or whether they went for someone and couldn't for whatever reason. I really don't know. But the fact of the matter is they haven't got anyone in. Whose fault, whatever, it's irrelevant. They just haven't. And ultimately, with the injuries that they've now got in those positions, has cost them.
I'd be very surprised if they don't do something this summer in terms of finding a forward. If you were in charge if you were director of football at Arsenal, the number 9s that, you've got to be realistic in terms of who you can get.
Yeah.
Who would you go for?
Well, Osserman's there. There's, he without doubt will... I think will score goals. The problem I've got now is the whole world knows they need a centre forward. Yeah. So someone who was worth 60 or 70 is now going to be worth 100, 110 when Arsenal come in. So they're going to have to pay over the odds. And perhaps that was their issue last summer or in January, that they refused to pay 20 or 30 million over the top for someone. I don't know, but... Look, if you're good enough and you're prepared to pay enough, you'll get someone that you want. They need a top class centre forward. They did before ball was kicked this season, and my opinion hasn't changed. And it's now mid to late February, and they still need a top class centre forward.
If I were them, I'd go for Delap at Ipswich. I know he's young, not entirely proven, but he scored quite a lot of goals in the Premier League this season for a team that's obviously struggled, having been promoted last season, Ipswich. I like his movement.
Didn't I really had a buyback clause or a percentage clause? I mean, that I guess if he has got a buyback for a certain price for Man City, then does that make it difficult? Because if they wanted to make a few quid, they could buy him back and sell him for more. I mean, I don't know what's in his contract, but yeah,
I'm sure he must have a choice where he wants to go. I mean, if you were him, you wouldn't necessarily want to go to Man City at the moment because, I mean, Haaland signed a 9-year deal, so you might have to wait an awfully long time to get.
No, and also it looks as if Ipswich are going to be relegated. So I guess he's had a taste of the big time. There's no doubt that there'll be some big clubs. And with all due respect to Ipswich, and I know they've been hugely successful in the past, but there'll be some clubs that are looking to take their best players, and without doubt, he has been one of their best players this season. So they'll have to be prepared for, if they do go, which it looks as if they're gonna, then other clubs will come in from him because he's had a good season. I like him. I think he brings. Yeah, he brings positivity, a strength, running in behind. And yeah, I think he's only going to get better because of his age. Perhaps hasn't got the experience that they may need, but in a year or two, he could be a big asset, yeah.
Yeah, they could always get Isak, Al.
No, they couldn't. I've said it once and I'll say it again and again and again. I don't think Arsenal would be able to afford him. I really don't. And I'm being serious on that.
It would cost an awful lot of money, that's for sure.
Yeah, why would he want to go there if Newcastle get into the Champions League? And I mean, potentially Newcastle could have a great season. Potentially. They've got a chance of getting into the Champions League. They've got a chance of winning the Carabao. And as we sit here now, they've also got a decent chance in the FA Cup when you look at who's out of the competition and the draw they've got at home.
It's a very good point. It felt like a significant afternoon and result for Graham Potter because he didn't get that initial bounce really, but then to go and win a game at Arsenal, even with the problems that Arsenal have got up front, it was a really good tactical display, and they hit them on the counter-attack really well. I thought, your analysis was excellent last night, and Wan-Bissaka was causing them problems, marching up and down on the right-hand side. Jared Bowen, got the goal and could possibly have had another one. He was a constant threat. So, I mean, that was probably a result that will really help Potter, particularly perhaps with the West Ham fans, and give them a bit of belief, because that's what you need, isn't it? Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. I mean, that sort of settles everything down, I think, for them and certainly for him. And it's a result he needed. And I mean, not many people saw that coming. So to go there and as I said, there was no fluke about it. It wasn't as if they were. I mean, for the last 2 or 3 minutes, they were under pressure, albeit in Arsenal had 10 men with the Lewis Skelly sending off. But there was no fluke about it. As you said, they defended really, really well. They created when they could, and they hit them on the break 3 or 4 times, of which where they got the goal from. Where they won the ball on the edge of their own box. Then Wan-Bissaka sprints forward, Jared Bowen sprints forward, and I thought those two were so impressive in that West Ham team, and they deserved it. So it'll give everyone the belief and the courage to go out and get more results. And you need that as a manager when you first come in to get a result like that. Then it just settles everyone down, and it gives the players belief and fans belief in the manager for the rest of the season. So I really would expect now West Ham to go and get a few more results.
You mentioned it briefly there, the red card for Lewis Skelly. And I suspect we'll be a little bit critical of 1 or 2 of the VAR interventions yesterday. So it's only fair that when they get one right, that we mention it and talk about it. And I think they were spot on with that one, given there was no covering defender anywhere near. And obviously Raya was really high up anyway, and he would have had, certainly a free shot at goal and it was definitely denying a goal scoring opportunity. So I don't think even the Arsenal fans, I've not seen too many complaints about that one.
No, I think it's been a really poor weekend for VAR and some of the officials, but that was one decision they did get right. I mean, the referee didn't choose to give him a red card originally, was told to go to the screen because of the positioning. I think it was Saliba that was never getting back. The goalkeeper, David Raya, was miles outside of his box. So if Kudus gets away, he's got a free shot at goal. So they got that one absolutely spot on. Yeah. And I say it's been a poor weekend because of what we'll discuss in a minute, the Everton penalty that was overturned. Even the first goal, it took 3.5, nearly 4 minutes to get to a decision that was a simple decision in my opinion.
The Everton-Manchester United game.
Everton-Manchester United. Even the Newcastle one today with a handball, it took so long for a basic decision, I thought. So I think it's been a poor weekend for VAR.
Yeah. Well, let's go straight on to that. Because that was obviously a last-minute penalty. It would have been for Everton. The score was 2-2. Ashley Young may or may not have made a bit of a meal of it, but there were certainly a couple of tugs at the shirt. Now, if the referee hadn't have given it, you could understand them not turning it over, but the fact that he did give a penalty to then have it turned over, it kind of went against what they've been saying this season.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they said to us they're not going to re-referee. They said to us high bar and all of that. Yet that all went out of the window yesterday. The ref gave a penalty. The thing that puzzled us, and certainly me on my analysis, was when they sent the referee to the screen, they didn't show him all the angles. Now, how can that happen? You're saying to a referee, mate, I think you've got this one really wrong. yet you don't show them all the angles that we saw them straight away, didn't we, in the studio?
Yeah.
Yet we were watching the coverage live, watching the view that the referee had on the screen. Yet we're thinking, hang on a minute, he hasn't showed him the angles that clearly shows 2 pulls from Dyche on his shirt.
Yeah.
How can that happen?
We always have a conversation, don't we, with the PGMOL people at the end, and they seemed to agree with us at the time, but then there was story filtered out that it wasn't the tugs on the shirt that he gave the penalty for, but I mean that...
Well, if it wasn't, then he still should have been showed them. There was no need for VAR to get involved in that at all. Now, the discussions and the chat, and I know you should never use social media as a barometer to see how things are.
Definitely not.
But even I think even the people there was so much discussion about it that tells you that was not a clear and obvious error the referee made. He gave the penalty, so stay out of it, VAR. There was no need to get involved in it at all. Yet he did, and he didn't show him the correct angles. Come on, it should be better than that.
Yeah. It was a really strange one, but it was another good Everton performance. I know Manchester United were pretty abject.
What about the first goal, though, guys? You talk about VAR. The first goal, it took like nearly 4 minutes to get to the decision. It was a simple decision that it was never offside. But anyway, Everton, I thought for large parts of the game were really, really good. And when you're 2-0 up and you only come away with a point, then you'll be really disappointed. But I think, again, David Moyes is putting his stamp on the football club again, and there were large parts of the game where he would have been really pleased with.
What's different about them? I mean, apart from stating the blindingly obvious that they've started to score goals, what's he changed, do you think, tactically? And obviously belief comes into these things, and we saw odd spells under Dyche where they had really good runs and then it kind of peters out. I suppose the test will be whether they can maintain it, but there's been a considerable improvement. I mean, I guess still a striker will be a huge priority for him in the summer. He's not naive enough or daft enough to know that he can't go into next season without investing in a striker. So they'll have to do that. But I think what he's done is the whole atmosphere of the football club, from the players, more importantly, equally as importantly, the fans, and the atmosphere within the stadium has just gone from everyone was sort of doom and gloom, and I do think that Everton still would have had enough to survive. Yeah. But there's no way we would have seen what they're doing if David hadn't gone in. There's no doubt in my mind they would have still stayed in the Premier League just simply because of the poor opposition that they're up against, particularly the bottom 3. But I think what he's done is he's opened them up a little bit more, given them a little bit more freedom, given everyone, without doubt, confidence, and the whole atmosphere at the club's changed. And you know what it's like when a player or a club, you get on a roll and you get confidence. It makes a huge difference, and that's what he's gone in and done. It makes a massive difference. Do you see all the images they released this week of the new stadium?
Yeah,
looks
impressive,
beautiful, doesn't it?
It looks gorgeous. There. Yeah, it looks amazing. Yeah. I bet you the Everton fans can't wait to get in there next season.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's a grand old ground, is Goodison, and there'd be so many memories. And normally you hear fans grumble a little bit about change and going to a new home, but I've not really heard that. I think it looks so spectacular, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I had good and bad memories at Goodison, that tight tunnel. Great old ground, but it is old. I think it is, and there's. I think the reason why you've not heard many say that they didn't want to leave is, one, because of how old that stadium is, and two, because of how spectacular the new one's going to be. So that's why. I
loved playing there, I must say. When I had that, I was only one season at Everton, but it's like the fans suck the ball into the net at times.
It's like one of those tight grounds still, isn't it? And the tight tunnel where you're only like a yard away from the opposition, and like some proper rows and scraps in that in the tunnel. So it was some great memories. Good old ground.
You had a row, did you? Bit of a scrap?
Well, only one or two, and that you go walking down at half time and you're still giving it what for to one or two of the players, and you walk off or you whatever, and you're trying to get to each other. Good old days. You could do that back then.
Well, you could. I tried to.
Not that you did.
Not at all. to try and keep out of the way. As for Manchester United, showed a bit of character at the end, I suppose, in coming back, but they were pretty bereft of any quality in the first, 60, 70 minutes, Alan?
Yeah. Before we sort of criticise, they do deserve a little bit because they were 2-0 down, and to come back and get a point. But for 72 minutes, oh my goodness, they were awful. They didn't have one shot on target. Their first shot was the Bruno free kick, which was a big mistake from Jordan Pickford.
A rare mistake.
Yeah, a rare mistake, yeah. But that sort of let Man United back into the game. But up until then, it was like, I was looking at them and I'm thinking, I'm not certain the players actually understand what the manager is trying to get them to do. Because I did my analysis on Match of the Day with their lack of pressing compared to what Everton's were. Now, Everton were brilliant at what they were doing in the pressing and all of those things. But Man United were just standing off Everton and letting them knock it around and play. And I looked at the players and I'm thinking, I don't know whether you think you should actually go and close down or sit and try and be compact and tight. And they just looked confused. They really looked confused in what the manager was trying to get them to do for 72 minutes. Up until Bruno's goal, they were terrible. They really were. And I'm not. And people will say, "Oh, you're just saying that because you don't." No, I'm not. I'm saying it because that was what I saw. They were really, really poor. And I'm not a Man United fan, but be hugely concerned at what's happening there at the minute, both on and off the pitch.
It often comes from the top, doesn't it? But they look like lost souls, don't they?
They did. That's what they absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. We enjoyed the Villa-Chelsea game, the late kickoff yesterday, didn't we? That was, Villa are really good. Chelsea can't hang on to a lead at present. They're going through a real sticky patch, which I think you predicted in particular would come. And now I suppose what we'll see with Chelsea is how the manager handles that, because it's all very well having a really big squad and keeping people out when you're winning. You can cope with that, but when results are not going well, you'll have players going, well, am I ever going to get a chance here? And then it might become problematical if Maresca struggles to deal with it.
Yeah, that's what I envisage. That's what I sort of said, that Chelsea can finish anywhere between, I guess, 4th and 5th and 9th. That's why I said that, because I always felt there was going to be a stage in the season where they were going to go on a sticky run, and that's when it was going to become more difficult for the manager, because it's all right, keeping everyone or keeping people happy when you're winning. The difficulty is when you're not winning games and you've got all those players who are in the dressing room and not getting a regular game and thinking, hang on a minute, results aren't going for us and you're still not using me, then that's when management becomes very, very difficult. And I have to say, they've spent all that money, I don't know, what is it, £1 billion?
About that, yeah.
And they still haven't got a top-class goalkeeper, and they still haven't got a top-class centre-forward. And I would say, not sure about a regular centre-half either. Weird. They've got to be.
They'll perhaps have to go in again in the transfer market. We'll see in the summer.
Well, they will. They'll have to.
Yeah, if they can.
No doubt about it.
If they can,
then without doubt, yeah. Might just sell another hotel to pay for it.
Yeah, just 1 or 2 around there. Villa came back well though, didn't they? Particularly having that really tough game with Liverpool in midweek as well. I thought it was testament to the character, and particularly I think their fitness. And obviously they've got, they've expanded their squad somewhat. Brought in Marlon, didn't they? Brought in Rashford, they brought in Asensio. And it was, as I said last night, it was Marco and Marcus that really transformed things for them in the second half. 2 goals for Asensio and a couple of assists for Marcus Rashford. It's good to see that he seems to have a smile on his face and enjoying his football again, because it's been a tough time for him and all involved, and I think he needed that little fresh challenge, didn't he?
Yeah, there's no doubt he seems to have gathered more energy, more love, I guess. There's definitely a spring in his step. And I think it was a really good window for Aston Villa. I think they did really good business with selling Duran for the price they did, and bringing in Marlon, bringing in Asensio, bringing in Rashford. Whether they'll be there long term, we'll have to wait and see those two. But I think the difference, and I know they've got so many injuries to defenders. But what they're able to do in terms of the forward positions now is swap them, and if they've half an hour left, bring and make a change, or like they did yesterday, bring Rashford on. And he had the impact he did. So they're really strong in forward positions.
I think Emery is adopting the arm around the shoulder tactic for Marcus Rashford. And I think a lot of us need that sometimes, and particularly perhaps Marcus. I've got some quotes from here. From Emery himself, saying Rashford has been fantastic. Now we want him to be consistent. What Marcus and Asensio did, fantastic. We want to support Marcus. We want to try and help him to feel comfortable here, try to help him get confidence with us, try to be demanding with him. He is in this process. We can do it. My mission is to make Rashford feel comfortable and play at his best.
What we've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks, he needs to do that on a regular basis, and that's when everyone will start thinking, wow, that's the player that we saw when he got 30-odd goals, when he was such a threat and he was enjoying his football and all of that. Because it's in there. And,
it's definitely in there.
There's no doubt that Emery will do his very, very best to drag it out again. And he's had a good start, so he's got to continue that now.
Yeah, let's hope he does. And let's hope he does, because he's a fabulously talented young man. And as for perhaps on the other side, Chelsea, Cole Palmer's going through a slightly quiet spell. But, I mean, there's still some lovely, graceful bits of football that you see. It's not quite happening for him, perhaps, in terms of goals. And I read somewhere that he'd created 30-odd chances in the last few games, but not without one assist, which perhaps speaks volumes for the lack of good finishing in that team. But he's so silky, isn't he? I mean, I still enjoy. He's one of those players that even on his quiet days, he do 3 or 4 things that you go, that is quality, that is class.
Yes. Absolutely, and it'll change. Look, there's no need to panic from his point of view. It'll only be a matter of time before he finds the back of the net again. He's too good for that, and Chelsea need that because they're in a bit of a rut at this moment in time, and we know with the football club that they are, you can't have too many bad results. Yeah. Considering, I think they finished 6th last year under Pochettino. So you would think they'll have to finish at least there. So things need to improve and sharpish.
Yeah, well, it's looking very likely that the top 5 will make the Champions League now. England are ahead on that at present. So that's looking promising in that sense. So that would be the aim. Spurs are back, Alan. Spurs are back. 3 wins on the bounce. 1 or 2 players coming back from fitness. They gave... Well, actually, after a tough start to the game where Ipswich had opportunities, but in the end, Spurs, it was a fairly resounding victory.
Yeah, they got the goalkeeper back, and Brennan Johnson's back scoring, and Son looks to be back to his near his best, and yeah, I mean they were just too good for Ipswich, certainly in forward positions. I mean, Danny did some really good analysis on Match of the Day where their 2 Ipswich's fullbacks were in crazy positions when they should never have been, which helped Spurs. But if you give quality players that much time on the ball and that many chances, then you're going to get punished. And that's happened so many times to Ipswich this season. But Ange will be saying, well, I told you I just needed some of my players back. And that's what's happening, isn't it? Yeah,
I think it's fair enough. I mean, sometimes, ultimately it does come down to players. I think sometimes we get a little bit caught up with the whole management and coaching thing. Look, for example, at Manchester City this season. They've had a few injuries. They've still got a lot of quality players, but they've not been anywhere near as good as they normally are, anywhere near as consistent. And it's a valid excuse. The manager can only do so much. I think really good managers do make a difference. There's no question about that. But overall, the fact that as soon as teams start losing, it's get the manager out. Let's get someone else in.
Do you think do you think it's? I think this season, I don't know what you think, but this season, I think Newcastle had it. Was it last year when they were in the Champions League? Newcastle, but I think this season we're probably talking more about injuries to clubs and the number of injuries that players are getting, do you think we're talking about it more this season than we ever have done?
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Doesn't
I mean,
it?
teams obviously in seasons do have bad spots, but there seems to be a lot of teams. Even on this, we've talked about, Villa have had a few injuries at the back. Spurs have had injuries right throughout the team. Manchester City have had injuries. Arsenal have lost their entire top, front four players. So, we've ummed and ahed about why.
Man United had the kids on the bench at
Spurs.
That's right.
Manchester United have got them. A lot of teams have had them. And it does feel like we're talking about it more. I think we discussed on a previous podcast, didn't we, about why that might be, whether it's training methods or whether it's the VAR interventions and the pauses, long pauses in play, and these players then have to go and do sprints. A lot of teams are playing really high lines. Is it because they're having to go back quick? That sounds unlikely to me, but it's probably something that needs to be monitored in terms of. I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, I don't know whether there's any real evidence out there, but
no, it is. It would be. I think it's a really good discussion. I mean, because when you consider they really do have the best of everything. The best physios, sports science, pitches, information, all of these things. Yet we are getting more and more injuries.
There seems to be a lot of hamstrings. As well, which is generally a sprinter's injury, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
It's a fascinating subject. The promoted 3 teams are going to go down, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, Leicester got spanked on Friday night. I mean, I was out. We went out for an early dinner with the aim of coming back and watching Leicester, and we got a little bit late. And then it was, by the time I got home, they were 3-0 down, and I thought, oh, for God's sake, sod it, I'm going to bed.
It's not. We did say at the time, didn't we? That was a huge gamble for Ruud to go in there in the situation that Leicester were in, and it wasn't pretty. You could hear the boos, and rightly so, at half time when they went in. I think it was 3 down at half time, so you could hear the boos, and no, it doesn't. It's you more better than we do. That's not a happy club, is it?
No, it's not. No, it doesn't seem to be. It never is when you're losing, is it? But it'll be the second successive season that, unless one of them stages a miraculous recovery, which I can't see, the 3 promoted clubs will go straight back down. So
it does feel like a really pivotal weekend at both ends of the table because of West Ham and Wolves winning.
Yep.
And all the bottom 3, I think they all conceded 4 goals.
They did.
Leicester, Southampton, and Ipswich, and it feels like a weekend where it's almost done. That's what it feels like.
It does. Word on Thomas Frank again. I mean, that's 4 straight away wins now. It's funny, isn't it? The football's daft, isn't it? They won every home game in the first half of the season. Now they're winning all that away games.
He's doing a brilliant job. He's a very, very astute, clever manager, isn't he? And the way they do things at the football club. I mean, they lost Ivan Toney, yet they look better in forward positions. They look a really strong team. Damsgaard in there, and Mbuemo, Wissa. They've got some really good players. Yeah. They're a good outfit. You know, you're going to get a game off Brentford.
Yeah, it's a well-run club, no question about that.
Yep.
Once again, it's time for another edition of our special segment, Raise Your Guinness Glass, brought to you by our friends at Guinness, official beer of the Premier League. We love when the beautiful game meets the beautiful pint. So every month we raise a glass to an incredible Premier League moment. We've got our lovely pints of Guinness here. Got mine, got yours out.
Lovely.
There you go.
Cheers, everyone.
Which we're going to let settle. Don't worry. And while we wait, we're going to chat about a moment from February that we reckon is worth raising a glass to. I've come up with the last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, Alan. 98th minute. They're losing Everton to Liverpool by 2-1, and Tarkowski whacks it in the back of the net. I mean, what a way to finish all that history of incredible derbies there over the years for the Goodison faithful.
Yeah, I know. Talk about making your point, literally. I mean, after all what's gone on at that great ground, all the derbies, all the history that it's got, for that to be the last game and for it to end that way in the last minute was such a great goal for Everton. I know it would have hurt the Liverpool fans, but it was such a great moment, wasn't it? What a finish, eh?
That was incredible. Finish of a striker, that from Tarkowski, wasn't it?
We'd have been proud of that one.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, of course, is that David Moyes is back, and he's been an integral part of a lot of the history at Goodison Park over all those years. And it was a brilliant moment for him not to lose that derby, because that would have been really awful for the Everton fans. I mean, they're suffering enough as much with Liverpool being top of the table, I imagine. So
that was when you sort of scanned around the ground when that goal went in. You could see the elation and the joy from all the Evertonians. It was for them. It was a great moment.
Yeah, that's what football can do. Those special moments. So let's raise our Guinness glasses, Anne. Cheers.
Cheers. All the best.
Delicious as always. That's it for February's edition of Raise Your Guinness Glass, brought to you by Guinness, official beer of the Premier League. 18 plus, please drink responsibly, and please do not forward to anyone under the legal purchase age. For the facts, visit drinkaware.co.uk. Welcome back to The Rest is Football with Alan Shearer, me, Gary Lineker, and now I'm delighted to say, after a hard day's work, we're joined by one Micah Richards.
Look at the commitment. Look at this. I left my home arrogant this morning. What time did I leave? About 9 o'clock. Went for a quick shape up. As you can see there, the trim was looking good, I think, today on Sky. And I've come back to the hotel just for you guys. Look at that.
Before you have more technical issues, let's talk about the other game that was played today. Alan, you were there. You were there at St James's Park, and it must have been rocking in the first half.
Well, it wasn't when Nottingham Forest scored their opening goal. But what a response from Newcastle in that first half! They just went bang, 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 bang. 4 goals. Just it was like.
I'm sure you did 5 bangs there, Al.
Did I? Okay, well maybe one was disallowed. Oh, God.
You must have got a bit twitchy in the stadium at the end, though.
Cool. It was talk about, I said earlier, didn't I, about the game of two halves. Forest came back into a second half and they perhaps deserved a draw, but who cares? 3 huge points for Newcastle in terms of them looking to get into Champions League places, but what a great game it was, incredible. And 2 more goals for Alex Isak.
What about the contrast in his emotions from this time from last week, Micah? Remember?
It's embarrassing. It's absolutely. You were at a right party, people, when Newcastle lost. You don't ring, you don't text, you don't nothing. As soon as Newcastle scored a couple today, straight away firing into the group chat. It's actually embarrassing now. You know, if I didn't need you in a group, I would block you, you know that? I would block you.
The mood swings. That's football. That's what football does. It does it to us all.
You watched that game as well, though, Micah, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good game, wasn't it? I mean, it started fast. I mean, Forest with that goal from Hudson-Odoi, it just set the tempo. But I was really impressed with Miley. Not just because he scored, just because he's not played for a long time. And then he played last season, didn't he? It looked like he was gathering a little bit of momentum. And then he sort of went missing. And obviously when you got Joe Linton and Bruno and Tonali, it's always difficult. Even Longstaff would be ahead of him. But to see him play and play very well, get his goal, I just thought that the game was, well, some bad defending, some really good attacking. But it was entertaining game. And it was weird to see Forest set up, because normally Forest go in that low block, don't they? And then try and pounce and get on that counter-attack. But Newcastle were doing the exact same thing to them. It was brilliant the way that they set up. If you have to watch the game and just analyse what they do, they just picked the moment when they wanted to go. And then they went forward with pace. Newcastle, when they're on it, Newcastle, they really are great to watch.
I thought Lewis Hall was very, very good as well at left back,
I was just going to say exactly the same thing, Alan. I really like him. I mean, he's very impressive, both defensively and going forward. I
hope Thomas Tuchel has had a good look at him, and with an England squad not too far away, do not be surprised if he's in it, because he's showed some really good form today. I thought he was excellent, and you're right with Miley, and of course with Isak getting 2 goals.
Isak's a lot of goals now. It's his 50 goals now, isn't it? He's got for Newcastle.
Amazing, 50 goals. I think is it 75 or 76 games. So
he's more than
very,
just a
very
goal
good.
scorer, though, isn't he? As well.
Brilliant.
I mean, he's really silky on the ball. He likes to take players on. He makes the game look very easy at times.
It's fantastic football.
You know, if he was more selfish, I know that sounds ridiculous, he's got more goals. Because how many times in that game he was running down the left-hand wing trying to create something, trying to feed the ball through. But he's just a joy to watch. You know, when we talk about all-round great, and Alan mentioned it a couple of months ago, I think it was on Match of the Day, he mentioned it, saying he thinks he's world. He's got all the attributes there to be world-class. And it's no disrespect to Newcastle. If Newcastle was constantly in the Champions League, he would be, called world-class, because he is. He's got absolutely everything.
Best Newcastle striker since what? Jackie Milburn?
How do you feel, though, Al, when all these records, I can't get rid of you. It's on BBC, it's an Alan record. On Sky, it's an Alan record. On the rest is football, it's a... Wow, what a guy you are.
One day you might realise I was a half-decent fucking player, man.
hey, was you just a goal scorer or was you a decent player?
I was all right.
You just did the most important thing of all.
Exactly.
Stick it in the onion bag.
Oh, goals.
Exactly.
That's the way it goes.
Newcastle are in 5th, I think, and
3 points behind third.
3 points behind Forest, I think. Is that right? In 3rd, and Man City just above them in 4th. So that was a huge win for Newcastle today. A massive win.
Good weekend for them.
Will I get Champions League? Now, Al, what do you think? With the games you've got left, the way you're playing, you sort of been seesawing a little bit. You had that, huge defeat to Man City, didn't you? And then you guys scored a lot of goals today.
Yeah, but I mean, they have been flaky this season at times. It's difficult to predict. I know they went on that great run where they were scoring and winning every game they were playing. But when you look at West Ham, Fulham, Bournemouth, and City last week, the first half today they were outstanding. The second half they were totally outplayed by Forest. So. Yeah, I mean, I would like to think so. I mean, they got Liverpool on Wednesday, so that is a really, really tough game. So I would think they would be able to get in the top 5, so long as they don't let the cup final affect them.
Are you working the cup final?
No, I'm not working.
Are you not?
No, I'm definitely not working.
I heard you was asked. I heard you was asked by one of the broadcasters I work with.
I was, yeah. And they said to me,
what you're missing.
Yeah, I said, is Micah going to be there? They said, yeah. I said, fuck that, I'm not working then.
I trust you're going to the game, though, Alan.
Oh, I'm definitely going to the game. Yeah, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Chance of winning our first domestic trophy in 70 years.
Won't be easy against that team.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
We're up against it. Really tough.
I've got a weird feeling that Newcastle are going to win both cups. Because you know what it's like. You don't do something it's like they're waiting for a bus, isn't it? And then two come along at once.
If that were to happen, I think I'd just, you're not going to see me for months. I'll just go missing.
We don't see you anyway.
says the man that's just missed the half of the programme.
Anyway, we'll call it a day there, but I just want to give a little shout out, not for the first time this season, to friend of the podcast, Cesc Fabregas, whose team, Como, really small club. I went out there to interview him at their training ground, which is, let's say, not state of the art. And that's a tiny little ground just by the lake there in Como, a beautiful spot. But they beat Napoli. They beat Napoli, and they're now kind of looking pretty safe in mid-table. And his ambition was just to keep them up this season. I don't think he's surprising us. Supremely intelligent.
You love Cesc though, didn't you? When he comes and works at BBC, Alan, Cesc, you're so amazing. You're so brilliant. That analysis was top. You're definitely going to be a great manager. It's embarrassing, isn't he, Al? Honestly.
He just wants invitations to go and stay on Lake Como again, doesn't he?
I don't know how to answer that. But yes, I do want invitations to go to Lake Como. What a beautiful spot. Okay, that's it for this episode. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a great week, everyone.
I love you, Cesc. I love you, Cesc. Goodbye.